Good morning and welcome to ABC News Ghana. This is ABC Headlines. I am Khadija Isifu. Coming up in the headlines. Health Minister Minta Kandobi mourns that Zipline is delivering condoms, mosquito nets, needles, needless and textbooks instead of essential medical items. The Asante Henyo Tunforse Tutu II is expected to present the outcome of the long-running mediation talks on the Boko conflicts to the president in the coming days, following the conclusion of a major dialogue session yesterday. We have these and many more coming up. Do stay tuned. We're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube at ABC News GH_. Now to the details. The Member of Parliament for Kwandai constituency, Matthew Yindam, has filed an application at the Supreme Court seeking to squash the judgment of the High Court Commercial Division in Tamale, which annulled his parliamentary election victory. Yindam, through his legal counsel, Gary Nimako Mafo, argues that the High Court erred in assuming jurisdiction over the petition filed by the NDC candidate Daniel Nsala Wakpal, who challenged the December 7, 2024 parliamentary election result in Pandai. The petition filed on January 25, 2025 was submitted 32 days after the results were published in the Government Gazette on December 24, 2024, exceeding the 21-day statutory period prescribed under Section 18 of the Representation of the People Law 1992 PNDCL 284. Yindam contends that the delay rendered Wakpal's petition invalid and that the High Court had no legal authority to entertain it. The parliamentary election petition filed by the first interested party on 25th January 2025 in respect of the parliamentary election held at the Kwandai constituency on 7th December 2024 was invalid and could not have properly invoked the jurisdiction of the High Court Commercial Division Tamale. Yindam's affidavit submitted to the Supreme Court states the High Court ruling delivered on November 24, 2025 had annulled the entire Kwandai election and ordered a rerun within 30 days. Now seeking a judicial review in the nature of certiorari to quash the judgment, as well as processes and proceedings emanating from the allegedly invalid petition. The Supreme Court is expected to hear the matter on Tuesday, December 16, 2025. Yindam's legal team argues that the case raises a fundamental issue of jurisdiction, asserting that the High Court's decision, if allowed to stand, would undermine the administration of justice and statutory limits governing election petitions. Now, away from that, the Asante Henyo Tunforse Tutu II is expected to present the outcome of the long-running mediation talks between the Kusasi and Mamprosi factions to the president in the coming days, following the conclusion of a major dialogue session at the Menchia Palace on Monday. There were scenes of wild jubilation at the palace as members of both sides expressed relief and optimism after the latest round of talks ended on a positive note. These meetings were seen as a pivotal moment in the national quest to resolve the Boko disturbances. Meanwhile, brief skirmishes were reported between the two opposing factions at the frontage of the Menchia Palace after a member of the Mamprosi who was widely jubilating reportedly hit a vehicle of the other faction. It took the intervention of the security to restore calm. Otunforse Tutu II was tasked by President John Mahama to lead the mediation process aimed at restoring peace, reconciliation, and mutual understanding. The Asante-Hene, who has been involved in several high-level peace negotiations in the past, is said to have steered the dialogue with firmness and neutrality. The Asante-Hene is set to convey a detailed report to the presidency. The presidency is expected to provide further direction once the Asante-Hene's report is submitted. The contractual integrity of Zipline Ghana's drone delivery service has been challenged by Minister of Health Kwabena Minta Kando, who revealed that the multi-million-dollar scheme is predominantly being used to transport non-emergency items, including condoms and textbooks, school textbooks, rather than life-saving supplies to hard-to-reach areas. Speaking at the Government Accountability Series on Monday, December 1, 2025, the minister presented data showing that the service has largely strayed from its core mandate, raising serious concerns about the value for money the government is receiving, especially amid reports of a colossal 174 million Ghana cedis debt owed to Zipline. The original contract for Zipline was focused on 2 critical areas, 7 hard-to-reach areas, and providing emergency medical services. However, the minister's review exposed a drastic diversion from this core mission.
Their services was to concentrate on the hard-to-reach areas and emergency services. But upon review of the activities, what we have realized is that the hard-to-reach areas constitute only 12% of the activities, 12%, 1-2. And emergency services is 4% of the activities. And it will interest you to know some of the items they fly. Items like condom, blood donor cards, not blood, blood donor cards, mosquito nets, food and nutrition items, adhesive tapes, syringes and needles, education materials, among other things, textbooks, exercise books, uniforms, and a lot more. So these are some of the items they have been flying. And so when we came to office, we think that there must be value for money. And therefore, we are engaging them. So if you hear that we are not engaging Zipline, it's not true. We have met more than 3 times, and we are still engaging them to know how we can have value for money. And that is what His Excellency the President has directed us to do. That in our respective ministries, we must make sure that whatever we are doing, we have value.
While Health Minister Kwabena Minta Kando has bemoaned the colossal financial burden of the Zipline medical drone delivery service to the country, confirming that the government is obligated to pay the provider more than $500,000 every month, regardless of how few medical supplies are delivered. Speaking at the Government Accountability Series in Accra on Monday, December 1, 2025, the minister detailed the binding terms of the 2018 take-or-pay sole-sourced contract, which continues to impose massive fixed costs on the state's budget.
It was signed in 2018. It took effect in 2019. And as part of the contract, there were clauses known as take-or-pay clauses in the agreement. And the contract was sole sourced. Now, for every month, Ghana government was and is supposed to pay $88,000 per center per month. $88,000 per center per month. So if you do the computation, we are paying more than, because we have 6 centers, so we are paying a little over $500,000 every month for the services of the drones. what is more interesting, and I think everybody needs to know, is the fact that in the beginning of this contract, the idea was that...
Still on the health sector, Minister of Health Kwabena Minta Kando has announced that the government will increase tariffs paid to service providers under the National Health Insurance Scheme by an average of 120% beginning in 2026. Speaking during the Government Accountability Series on Monday, December 1, 2025, the minister said the adjustment is in response to long-standing concerns from service providers who have complained that existing tariffs are inadequate and unrealistic.
Gone were the days where you hear service providers shouting on top of their voices on the rooftop that they were going to withdraw services because they were not receiving payment. And this is no more the case as I speak to you now. In some cases, my CEO will have to call even some of the service providers to bring their claims for payment. That is the current status of the National Health Insurance Authority. And so it is not by coincidence that there is a lot of confidence in the National Health Insurance Scheme. The coverage was around 18 million people as at the time we took office, and I can confidently report that in a matter of less than 1 year, we are around 20 million people, which represent about 60% coverage. And beginning next year, we are going to increase the tariffs in the National Health.
Now, away from the health sector, Nigeria's Defense Minister Mohammed Badar Abubakar has resigned. The presidency said on Monday with immediate effect. Presidential spokesperson Mayo Onanuga said in a statement that Abubakar was quitting on health grounds. His resignation comes amid President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a national security emergency with plans to elaborate on its scope in due course. The spokesperson said Nigeria has long been plagued by mass kidnappings, but the past few weeks have seen a surge in attacks and abductions by armed bandits. Most recently, gunmen attacked a church in Kogi State in central Nigeria, abducting the pastor along with nearly a dozen worshippers during a Sunday morning service. On Saturday, some 30 women, including a bride and visiting wedding guests, were kidnapped in Sakoko in northwestern Nigeria. In all, some 490 people have been abducted across multiple states in the past 2 weeks, according to Nigeria's Punch newspaper. That's how we wrap up with the headlines this morning. For more news, visit our website at www.abcnewsgh.com and follow us on our socials at abcnewsgh_. ABC in the Morning comes up next with Abna Manti. I am Khadija Isifu. Have a nice day.